everybody, KylaTea here. So you are currently watching the censored version of this video essay. I know, right? However, I do have the uncensored version, but that is an exclusive video for YouTube members. Now, I actually specifically started memberships because of this video. Because I really wanted people to see it, but I knew that due to the violence being depicted in this essay, that YouTube was most likely going to throttle the thing and it would get age restricted. And yeah, I was like, I need people to see this. So if you feel so kindly in your heart and you want to support this channel and the making of other videos like this, more in-depth, more like down and dirty, getting at hard topics, stuff like that, then please consider becoming a member of the Tea House, the lowest tier that gets you not only early access to videos, but also to polls on voting on video topics. And so I added a lot of stuff to the base tier because I want to make sure that you're getting the full for your amount of $4.99 that is going to the channel. So if you feel so inclined, please do. But also share this video. I do think that it's probably one of my better ones and probably the most in-depth one that I've done on this channel since coming back to it. But once again, thank you so much for your support. I have one more disclaimer that I'm going to do after I end this one, but I'll shut up for now and let past me start talking. So thank you once again. Hi everybody. So before we start today's video, I just wanted to issue two things. One being a content warning. I will list the following issues that we will talk about either in depth or by mention in today's video. If you believe that you cannot handle these conversations right now and you'd like to come back to this when you feel like you can, or if you're just like, I gotta skip this, that's perfectly okay. The other one is a disclaimer. In today's video, I will be recounting allegations made against the CEO of Zeus Network, Limmy Plummer. As of right now, these are just allegations. Legally, everyone is innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. And note that these allegations are not coming from me, but from different cast members of the different shows hosted by the Zeus Network. I will leave the appropriate links down below if you want to learn more about these allegations and just inform yourself. But once again, I am not making them. I am just recounting what has already been spread in the public through the media. Everything other than that is my own personal opinion, because that's what I do on this channel. I give my opinion. I'm a yapper. It's what I do. But other than that, I hope that you find today's video informative. So please enjoy and let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you. My earliest memory of watching reality TV was the now classic show Flavor of Love, the 2006 reality dating show in which Public Enemy hype man and #1 fan of the U.S. Olympics women's water polo team, Flavor Flav, was put into a house with 20 eligible bachelorettes a la The Bachelor style. I, being in the 6th grade, had no idea who Flav was, nor that this was a spinoff from his tenure on The Surreal Life, the original blueprint for Celebrity Big Brother, many, many years later. However, I stayed enraptured at the TV watching these, mainly black women, do the wildest stuff for this man's attention. I also remember during that time, the show caught a lot of flack from the black community, mainly for how the show portrayed not just the women, but the namesake of the show. Flav was shown as a bit of a bumbling fool, not taking things seriously while smiling wide with a mouthful of gold grills and only interested in these women for their bodies. In fact, many of the nicknames of the girls were very, very shallowly given. And in turn, the women were portrayed as mainly wanting Flav for his money. There was an infamous challenge done on the show where Flav's ex hooked the girls to a polygraph machine to see if their intentions were true. It was a menagerie of superficiality, if you will. In an NPR interview, commentator Mark Anthony Neal went as far as to compare the show to a form of minstrelsy, saying that, Quote, Sambo figures like Flavor Flav have justifiably created new anxieties among some black audiences who deal with the fact that there are far fewer examples of black humanity available to us on television and in film than one might have thought at this point in history. Well, damn, man, tell me how you really feel. Many in the community agreed with Neil's assessment at the time. A lot of ire was directed at Flav, the women, the producers, VH1, and Viacom for portraying black men and women in a negative light and perpetuating stereotypes. Because, believe it or not, Flavor of Love was the only reality dating show on at the time with a black man as the bachelor everyone was competing for. In fact, I think it was the first one. It was revolutionary, yet in the same vein, it was a setback. To have our first black lead dating show with a black man, having mostly black women compete for him, be this?
Well, when I was putting the name tags on the girls, my hands were somewhat doing a little traveling. You like apples?
I love apples.
It's so nice to put this where it belongs. Slap it, boy.
Yeah, it left a bitter taste in everybody's mouth. I say this to show that these conversations are not new. In fact, if you were old enough to see the discourse around Bad Girls Club, Love and Hip Hop, Basketball Wives, pretty much VH1 in general, then you know these talks are not new, nor regulated to a specific community. But in terms of these shows, I remember calls to boycott these productions, which didn't work. However, calls to boycott the advertisers who put ads during these shows did. Slowly but surely, many advertisers began to pull out, which meant money was being lost. This resulted in censorship of these shows where the fights would either be cut out entirely or a small snippet would be shown, but nothing too graphic. Just enough for you to get the idea. But with the censoring of the violence came dissatisfied viewers. And I was one of them. I've been watching reality TV for a decade at that point. I watched reality TV for the mess, for the drama, and the fights were part of that. You take that away, what am I watching? This, along with the rise of social media spoiling many of that season's story before they got the chance to come out, folks got tired of the perceived scripted storylines, lack of violence, and monotonous actions of returning cast members. While the viewership of some of these shows have seemingly remained constant after all these years, the conversations still continue, even after the change is made. The idea of good representation versus positive representation, perpetuating stereotypes, what part of respectability we sacrifice for realness, and what negative parts of the community we show to the public lest we face more racism thrown at the whole because of the actions of a few, are conversations we have constantly. Hell, they made a movie about it. However, the latest lightning rod for this discourse has been the Zeus Network streaming platform. And I have to say, never since the Shade Room has the black community come together to condemn the ethics of a platform and how it portrays the community, specifically black women, after openly embracing it and its status as a black-owned media business. Now, believe it or not, but this was not the original plan for the network. Zeus was to be a creator-focused streaming platform that would feature creator-driven original content, to be a lightning rod for creators to do more serious productions. Founded in 2018 by CEO Limmy Plummer, to Storm Power, Andre Batchelor, aka King Batch, and Amanda Cerny. In fact, remnants of this failed first version can still be found if you scroll down long enough to the bottom of the front page of the app or if you're on your desktop. From scripted series to comedy shows, a drama or two, and even workout videos. DeStorm, King Batch, and Cerny built their following on Vine and were fortunate enough to carry that audience to different platforms when the app went offline. I personally think that after that experience, they felt the need to create a more stable platform for creatives on social media, and that's initially what got Zeus cooking up in their heads. In an interview with The Verge, Power said that, for us, our whole philosophy was that we want to greenlight people, not shows, and take away from implementing the traditional development process and giving creators total creative freedom and control over their content. Now, this is a great foundation, and it's not like any of these people were wet behind the ears. They're internet vets, each with their own experiences, projects, and connections to make this venture successful. To create a space for creators to grow and do more professional projects, where their fans can interact and support them directly. Instead, the app became...
Hit it, Joe!
Now, if like me, you were curious about the origin of Zeus and looked into how it became what it is now, then you will know our main suspect is not who you think. No, King Batch, the third worst thing Canada has produced to terrorize the US, is not to blame. He is a red herring.
Get on top of it, Freddy. He's not even in this episode.
That doesn't matter. Somehow I know he did it.
Let me state my case. Let's introduce my first suspect, Mr. Plummer. Limmy Plummer was born in Detroit, Michigan into an already successful media family, with his parents owning 3 religious TV stations. In his 20s, he went on to work for BET by producing shows like The Monique Show, The Family Cruise, Mary Mary. At the time, he also had a production company called Three Sons Productions, which worked on all the shows listed. Later on, he then claims to have come up with and sold the concept of Preachers of LA and Preachers of Detroit to Oxygen to franchise. He's been in the business for a while and seems to know his way around it. And if one is to assume that, then he must also know what sells and what doesn't. I believe it was this past production experience that got him his position as CEO of the network. As I dive into the history of Zeus to figure out who's left from the original team, I noticed that the other 3 founders are nowhere to be seen. Plummer has been pulling a Stan Lee, putting himself out there as the face of the app in recent years as the app's popularity has grown. By making himself the face of the network to the point that I'm sure no one else knows about the 3 founders of Zeus, even to the point where he's calling himself the founder. Not one of the founders, the founder.
He goes by the name of Limmy Plummer. He is the founder and CEO of the Zeus Network. What's up, King?
How you doing, man?
And how did this even come about? First of all, who is Limmy Plummer?
Yeah, who is Limmy Plummer? Wow. You know, I am obviously the founder and CEO of Zeus, but I wanted to launch a full service production company.
To be honest, this organizational chart that I'm trying to figure out is truly, what's an academic way to put it? Unfortunately, I can't stay on it too long or else we'll be here all day, but just keep that in the back of your mind for this video. None of the original 3 creators are anywhere to be found in modern Zeus, creative or production-wise. If they are, I ain't been able to find it. It seems as if somewhere along the way, the app was most likely not pulling in enough subscribers to sustain itself with the original content it had on offer. So a compromise had to be made on what kind of programming they wanted to create to draw folks in. Plummer even mentions this in both the previous Breakfast Club interview I mentioned and in a new one from last year, 2023.
Again, that's a tough business.
Do you think it was a bonus for you to be a young black man owning your own network, getting people to believe in you and sign up, or do you think it was way harder? Even because I see some of the shows that you're doing, obviously Ray J was up here giving you props for the Zeus Network, but when you first were launching it and you had this vision and it wasn't in existence before that, how hard was it for you to get people to say, okay, I believe in this, I want to partner with you?
Man, it took a minute. It took a minute because, you know, there was a lot of experimentation going on. It's been, our customers, you know, love the experience because it's so loud and our content is uncensored, it's raw. We don't like to water it down,
right,
and censor it up so much so, you know, where the experience or what they're watching is not, you know. I think that I think our audience resonates with our content because it's real. Okay, a lot of networks water down their content. They have to censor it. You know, the talent doesn't come off usually authentic and real. And I think that makes a difference. We put out our content a lot faster. You know, we just shot a whole series of Baddies East. We're like literally we just wrapped a few days ago.
How many fights?
I don't. Well, I'll let her answer that one.
How many fights, Natalie?
Like 30 or 45.
You see what I'm saying?
No, but
Thus, the app ended up being the home for Bad Girls 2.0 and VH1 reality alums, the most egregious example being a spiritual spinoff of a spinoff, and even grabbing one of the Love and Hip Hop series' most notable cast members, the Puerto Rican princess herself, Joseline Hernandez, for Joseline's Cabaret, which is a show about her creating her own touring cabaret show, which it isn't cabaret, it's just choreographed stripping, which there's no problem with that, but it's like, it's not cabaret. And it has so many fights and nudity that I don't think I can show it in most of this video. In an interview for Black Enterprise, Plummer even claimed that VH1 had sent him a cease and desist. He says, quote, "Yes, I have received cease and desist letters from Viacom and VH1 who have basically told me I'm treading in their space." I mean, there is treading in their space and possibly ripping them off. Allegedly. From the other creators I saw that dug into the network, the consensus on when the change happened seemed to be when the show TT Do You Love Me aired. The show centered around TT, a character created by Quaylon Rogers, aka Blame It On Quay, another Vine star who then moved to Instagram. In this show, TT is looking for love. In a comparison done by the official network themselves, they even compare the show to I Love New York and Flavor of Love. So like, buddy, I don't know what you thought would happen with that cease and desist. But anyway, given the outrageous premise of the show and character of TT, the show drew in a lot of viewers. It also didn't help that Quay already had a built-in audience to kind of drive traffic to the app. But it seemed that the format that they decided to stick with was based off of this show. And that accumulated in the big shift that even Plummer admits was the big push for Zeus, which was the real Black China. Now there is another reality TV love show that I'm missing in there, but everybody else that I've looked into said that the real big kaboom, the big bang, if you will, of Zeus was Black China's show. Now look, I'm gonna be honest, I ain't got the time nor the emotional strength to explain who Black China is, but her docu-series, aka reality show, was the spark that brought the audience to the app. Since their main mode of income is subscriptions, I can only imagine the number of people who subbed to watch the mess that was Black China's life back then. But it didn't even stop there. Most recently, there is Wild vs. Bad, which is just wilding out from MTV. Hey guys, so this is editing Kyla. While I was editing the footage to get the Bad vs. Wild opening credits, I saw this and I can't believe that they are actually promoting this and have the nerve to say that they don't condone the violence that happens or they try to minimize it. You're literally counting how many arrests these women have and how many black eyes they got, how many, like, what the is this? This is like some Thunderdome shit. Like, what kind of dystopian world are we living in? I'm having a stroke. I am having a stroke. Nick Cannon actually proposed this show after getting in trouble with MTV for anti-Semitic remarks. The Untea podcast show, which gathers 3 of the most volatile women on social media, including Black China's mama, Tokyo Tony, and Rick Ross's ex-wife, which, baby, it gathers them on an interview style like podcast. If they can stop fighting long enough to interview the guest.
You do it after
I'm a
this shit
dog
over.
walk your
Make sure you do it after this is over, bitch.
Okay.
Make
Just
sure.
So you know.
Have a seat.
You better.
Just so you know.
You better.
Was you and Devin together before you became famous, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So
I ain't got no earpiece, guys.
The energy off or something? Yeah, we had a little some disagreement. Well, they did, and I think everybody good now.
You think you sitting there explaining to him? You think he don't know already?
No,
You think
but
they didn't
he's
call him and tell
asking
him
me,
that
am
already?
I
Don't
good?
see it.
So I'm answering
You don't think he
his
know that already?
question. I'm good though. I'm fabulous. I'm always be good.
So you get the energy right.
Okay, we
You're
could.
gonna be right where it's at. Over here.
And even in a show documenting the plastic surgery journey of a former One More Chance and Baddies contestant, in which she gets her procedure done at a notorious plastic surgery center. Circling back to Cannon for a moment, I wanted to mention that Plummer brags about the fact that those who were kicked off of other networks, like Canon or Erica Mena, for her colorist remarks on a fellow Love and Hip Hop cast member, can find a home on Zeus. They're like what Kick is to Twitch, which can also open the door for many unprofessional happenings. Because if the big networks who put up with a lot of nonsense don't want you, then something could be horrifically wrong.
And what I mean by that is, I've seen, like, we used to give Mona Scott Young hell. I used to call Mona Scott Young Satan Scott Young, right? Like, seriously, like, we used to give her hell, but for whatever reason, you are exempt from that type of criticism. Like, nobody ever comes at you directly for the programming that's on Zeus. Question, are you afraid that you are going to get held liable for stuff like that, though? Because somebody that got assaulted could easily name Zeus in a lawsuit.
Yeah, we protect ourselves as much as we can, insurance, our deals, we implement a lot of things in our deals. I mean, am I nervous? I mean, we know what we signed up for. We know who we're working with. And, for us, I'm not really worried about it. It's more so, we just have to implement, a certain protocol and procedure that protects everybody, our cast, our crew, and all the folks involved, and we do that.
MTV, sometimes if there is a fight, the person is suspended. Y'all just, it's reality.
I mean, there are consequences for things that happen, on set when people do things. I mean, I'm a little different than most CEOs when it comes to, working with certain folks when things happen. I don't know. I think I have a great relationship with a lot of our content partners. I'm a little bit more lenient when it comes to certain things. I understand. I mean, we have real conversations about things that happen, whether it's Natalie or Joseline or China or Blueface, Krishan. I mean, we have real conversations. So, I understand. I'm just a little bit more, flexible. We're not a traditional network. We're non-traditional. We're independent. We are Black owned. And so, we understand the folks that we're working with as well. Some of them, may not pass the psyche valves or the
y'all do those checks. Y'all do psych evaluations.
We if we need to do some, we'll do some. We do background checks. We do our due diligence when it comes to folks that we work with. But it's again, for me, it's just about giving people an opportunity to tell their story. And when some networks aren't looking to work with people, I see value. I see value in all of our cast members, all of our talent.
Now, I would be doing a disservice if I did not give a mention to the allegations of possible sexual workplace misconduct against Plummer that have come out in the last few months. As a reminder to the Zeus legal team, I am only recounting what has been said before in public. And to those folks at home, these are all allegations. Former Baddies member Cash Doll, singer and Brandy's brother Ray J, and even Chance have come out either fully or alluding to the fact that Plummer often entered sexual relationships with female members of the cast for his shows, and that this could result in production having to show favoritism toward these cast members and giving them priority in productions. But it ultimately sounds like a quid pro quo situation in which someone would be promised something for putting out.
She also stated it'd be some real life pervy stuff going on. And she was releasing a lot of stuff. She was exposing a lot. She was saying that everybody on the cast is pretty much broke and they be just living this facade as if they got it, but only a select few of them are really making a lot of money.
Thus coercing them into a sexual relationship that they may not have done if something wasn't on the line. Ray J and Cash Doll have even gone so far as to compare him to Sean Diddy Combs, which is something else considering all the interviews I've seen of Plummer for this video. He really admires Diddy's business model. I mentioned this as while these are allegations, and I know the minute I brought up Ray J, a good chunk of y'all probably rolled your eyes and dismissed everything I said after that. This video is mainly about Black women and the discussion the community has about how this network exploits them and how they seem to be getting away with it. So if this is what the talent is alleging that's going on, then not only is this network exploiting these women for profit, but possibly doing worse when no one is looking. But once again, these are all allegations. So take from this what you will. But let us move on from Lemon Pepper Stepper and get on to our next subject. Natalie Crimson Chin Nunn is a Bad Girls Club alum, and she won't make you forget it either. And she's also a full-time ratchet black woman cosplayer.
Yeah, babe, you gotta get up out of here. Dig it. Not the you was doing in this city anyways. I know, right? The going on, bro?
You're gonna get the ghetto black bitch. He's gonna punk you all the time.
Stop that y'all mother turbo shoot. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure what Nunn was doing before reality TV, but she realized that she could continue to make a career of beating bitches up. Once her stint on BGC ended and the show ended due to that, she began to shop around a similar show, all with baddie in the title. Nunn, I believe, was introduced to the network due to this, and they eventually signed her on with the newly created Baddies franchise, which is just a group of famous self-labeled bad bitches going on a club tour together, getting into fights, partying, drinking, smoking weed, fighting, kissing Natalie's ass, wash, rinse, repeat. It's like BGC, but replace the concept of bringing in a therapist to help the girls through their underlying angst and insecurities, and instead pose this question: how long can they stand each other to get through the tour without fighting? Which, funny enough, is going to be what Oasis fans are going to be asking themselves this upcoming year. If you're old enough to live through Oasis, then that joke was hilarious. Zeus went from wanting to create original programming focusing on smaller creators in an effort to give them a boost to the mainstream, to just being an uncensored clone of projects that did these concepts better. Yet while these shows are creatively bankrupt, they are hypnotizing to watch for many audience members. Thus, my deduction is that Plummer at some point realized that the audience VH1 had abandoned still had a need they wanted to be met: uncensored and unbridled reckless behavior. He then decided to give the people a place to enjoy just that. The additional team up with Nunn just helped to solidify this turn and create the Zeus we know today, as Nunn had a lot of connections to old reality show alumni as well as social media stars that I believe Plummer didn't have at the time. A lot of the people who star and participate in these shows bring with them an established audience who wants to see how they'll interact with other people. And with all these big personalities clashing, it does make for an entertaining watch, which is something that I wanted to explore at the beginning. In fact, one creator I watched for research, The Unpopular Party, who also has a video on the history of Zeus Network, which I recommend you watch, made this great point.
Like following to make viewers be like, oh, we're gonna boycott this network. Absolutely not. Because what does a lot of the big viewers only care about when it comes to Zeus? Mainly the fight, it's the violence. Be honest, whether you just admit it or if it's a guilty pleasure or you just like a teenager who love violence or you're an adult who just need to escape into the messy stuff. People only care about the fights when it comes to it. So Stunner Girl unfortunately would just become an afterthought to the Zeus Network machine and they would just keep going. Why do you think in that premiere episode of Baddies East, Natalie Nunn, she kept screaming like, yes, please fight me. Make me money! Because with her being an executive producer, she's going to continue to make a coin off of you girls fighting.
Now keep that in the back of your mind because I'm going to come back to this. When I initially thought of doing a video about Zeus Network, I originally wanted to look at Joseline's Cabaret, as I grew up watching Joseline on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. As I got older and realized the toxic abuse that Stevie J put her through at such a young age, I really wanted to see her succeed on a project that seemed close to her heart. Now, Joseline is going to be who she is, so I knew what to expect when it came to her. But I ultimately was not ready for the all-around outrageousness that was the Cabaret. In Greek mythology, the concept of the underworld is of a place where the dead roam in a sunless, desolate place with other poor souls stuck forever. To get to this hell, you travel along the river Styx. In my case, I opened the Zeus app, and the river I traveled on was called Joseline's Cabaret. When I was initially thinking of looking into Zeus, I wanted to do a deep dive on not only the original content that was there beforehand, but also review the most popular show at the time, which was Joseline's Cabaret. My first experience to this show was back when I was getting my hair done. Shout out to Carla. She had me looking good with the silk presses. And I mentioned the show to her, mainly because I heard there was a big lawsuit that got the thing canceled. So she went and turned on season 3's reunion episode, the episode that caused the lawsuit. And I cannot describe to you the utter chaos that I saw. I can't even show it to you on this video platform. Like, oh my God, all kinds of cussing, fist flying, hair pulling, weave and wig throwing, titties bouncing out everywhere. It was utter chaos. Scraps of clothing being thrown around, women getting dragged every which way. Like, it was madness. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was hooked. I was hooked. I couldn't fathom what could lead to such a cataclysmic climax, let alone how this was allowed to go on for a whole 45 minutes. They didn't even get to talk. It was straight fighting, like WWE SummerSlam, except it was a room full of Ric Flairs and Macho Man Randy Savages talking shit. I just had to know how we got here. So I started watching the show. Let me tell you something. I have never experienced this before with any other show or really any other form of media in my life. But I was overstimulated. All the yelling, the fighting, the nonsense going on. Just constant noise going on and on and on. Noise. It took me a year to finish 2 seasons. I realized as I was in the middle of season 3 that I couldn't do it. The show, the people, everything was too much. It was too much. It was also getting aggravating, okay? Seeing these people fight constantly, yelling and screaming gave me headaches. The plot? Ain't no damn plot. Or I guess I wouldn't call it a plot. More so, the nucleus of this is the cabaret. It's not a cabaret in the way that you're thinking. Like I said, it's just more of an elaborate strip show. I would consider it more so choreographed strip teases. Season 2 is where the formula for the show really got started. A group of girls move into this big house. They live and train together for an audition for a spot on the Cabaret team where they'll do a series of performances in different cities. However, one girl will be the big winner and win a big cash grand prize. Season 3 eliminated the grand prize, but season 4 and now 5 have brought it back. This show is very much a typical reality show that if they trimmed out the nudity and the copious amounts of violence, it could easily air on a network. Because while I feel that the public, including me at one point, said they wanted real and raw, for Zeus they interpreted that as show everything. Yet this creates a product that is so repetitive and so ostentatious that it wears you down as you watch. Like waves of water in the ocean hitting against a rock. You don't realize that every time the wave hits the rock, small bits of it are being worn away until you come back and the rock is a pebble. Like, season 4 had its first trans woman and people in the house seemed to be very opening and welcoming to her.
You know, so like, it did not dawn on me. More power to you. Could you imagine being born another sex and in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, it's telling you that you need to be the opposite sex and you actually go and do it and follow your heart? That gotta be the hardest thing that anyone could do in their whole entire freaking life.
That's amazing. I love it. Too bad I can't appreciate it through all the damn yelling and fighting. And it's ironic, as many of the girls on the show mention how they see this as an opportunity to be the best they can be, a foot in the door to go beyond just being dancers or sex workers. While the girls seem genuine and want to do the best they can, the environment of the show encourages them to act out. It makes good TV and gets the blogs talking, but it makes the girls look horrible. Yet, there is an element that helps Joseline's Cabaret in the end. This is the overall fake aspect of reality TV. A lot of the show's contestants seem to have alluded to or even confirmed this theory. That Joseline is playing the character of the Puerto Rican princess on TV and behind the scenes is a lot better or a lot more reasonable than she lets on. Think of it like wrestling. The big personalities and the beefs created for the entertainment of others. Now, can it spill over into real life and cause issues? Oh, absolutely. But all that does is add to the element of the story they're trying to tell in the show. To quote Super Eye Patch Wolf on the subject, wrestling exists in a form of unreality, and reality TV exists within the same realm. Understanding this may help you understand the show and may even make it palatable to watch. But without it, it makes it damn near impossible. It was upon this revelation and the idea of projecting certain personalities and different types to a viewing audience that this age-old question popped back into my head. If these people were white, would they be getting as much shit? And I can answer that. It's no. Joseline's Cabaret has had white contestants before, and they didn't get the same amount of ire and strife. Why? Because unfortunately, black people and other minority groups, to be fair, are constantly having to represent their entire race in everything they do, especially in America, where many people's first impression of someone of a different race is through the media. And yet, that brought up another age-old question. While it is important to make sure we have positive representation in the media, at what point do we end up desaturating the breadth of the black experience? Because to deny these women their stories that they're telling, albeit through a really, really manipulative network, that's their truth. That's their black experience. That's their womanly experience. And who are we to deny them the avenue to tell that story? Zeus is only the recent addition to this conversation, as I mentioned way back at the beginning of this thing. We've gone through this whole back and forth for decades. Back with the Cosby Show, Different Strokes, Good Times, Sanford and Son. All these conversations have been had before and probably will until the day you and me die and we don't have to hear it anymore. But amongst all that, I do feel that in this case, Zeus does deserve the ire it's getting from the community. So after being bombarded with the Cabaret, I decided to try something else. Around this time, the Blueface show, Blueface and Krishan Crazy in Love was starting up. I had, and still honestly have no idea who either of these people are. What I do know about them has been against my will, and I would rather not inflict that pain onto you if I don't have to. There are many videos on the history between these two, so please go look them up. Anyway, I thought, at least this was just starting up. I won't have to have as much backstory going into it. And actually, that brings up a point that Zeus really relies on their viewers to be entrenched in social media and reality TV to know who the stars of their shows are and to keep watching because of that familiarity. Many of the shows recycle people who have already worked with the network before. It's like with Tyler Perry. You just swap people out all the time. With this show, I made it 2 episodes into season 1 and stopped because I felt dirty. I felt I was watching the active exploitation of 2 drug addicts in an abusive relationship that was being broadcast and used for entertainment under the guise of being real. So editing Kyla again, while I was getting B-roll footage, I completely forgot that this was literally the opening to the first episode of the first season is this disclaimer, which is trying to almost put the blame on the viewer. Like, well, you call their relationship toxic and it's not traditional, so, it's just how they love. And is it even really a love story? Like, but trying to push off the blame, but the show really frames them as a dysfunctional couple that you want to get back together when that is, like, fundamentally, these 2 people should not be together at all. Probably not even on the same planet. So I moved on to try Bad Boys in both original flavor and Texas barbecue. So I trudged through the first season, but the Texas season opening up with Orlando Brown, former Disney child star, getting bailed out of jail by Natalie Nunn in a big pink fur coat with cash, like some kind of kingpin, I just stopped. So editing Kyla here, when I went back to look for B footage for this scene, it came to me like, wait a minute, wasn't Orlando Brown in jail for a domestic disturbance? And when I went to go check, here is an article from the Hollywood Reporter that yes, he was in that Ohio jail for not only drug charges, but for a misdemeanor domestic violence charge against his brother, whom he was staying with at the time, and threatened with a knife and another object. And I can only imagine being the brother. You unfortunately call the cops on your brother because you think that he will harm you. And then you see this, him being let out into the world to do God knows what, and maybe come back after you for putting him in jail. And seeing this all because Limmy and Natalie want to get the best ratings that they possibly can by putting in the most controversial person that they can into this TV show. I would be livid, absolutely livid. I rewatched that episode a lot, to be completely honest. Mainly that part because I was in awe of what I was seeing and how it was being portrayed. Because I feel like this moment is the true crux, the true essence of the network and the problem that so many people in the community have with it. Remember when I brought up the unreality thing? The problem that Zeus has is that it only works for some shows. It can work for Joseline shows, for baddies. But when it comes to shows like Bad Boys, and especially Blueface and Krishan, it loses that facade of being fake. You can't brush it off as being planned or planted. It is very real. And watching people destroy their lives, continually argue and fight, is not as fun when you start to conceptualize the consequences involved.
And they would just keep going. Why do you think in that premiere episode of Baddies East, Natalie Nunn, she kept screaming like, yes, please fight me, make me money. Because with her being an executive producer, she's going to continue to make a coin off of you girls fighting.
Zeus thinks that it's helping, or at least tries its best to excuse a lot of what they capture in that they are just capturing real life. But there is a line between capturing reality and exploiting someone's life. It's very thin, and many shows on major networks toy with it all the time. But they know that it's there, and eventually make a conscious decision on if they will cross it or not. Zeus doesn't even acknowledge it, deciding to be a habitual line stepper, and when calling them out on it, falling back on them being black owned as a brush off for criticism.
I'm gonna get on Lamel ass though, because Lamel out here, with this damn Zeus Network, bringing down the black community one show at a time.
Shit.
Well, let's talk about it. We're gonna get on Lamel. We're gonna get on your ass, Mr. Plummer.
Wait a minute. You know I'm still a bad girl, so you might want to be careful how my bars look.
A lot of people do feel that. They feel that Zeus is a low when it comes to our people, showing the fighting, showing the things that sometimes make our community look bad. What is your response to that?
We're telling real, authentic stories. We're giving out, opportunities to all sorts of folks. I don't look at it like I'm doing anything different than HBO, and Netflix and other platforms.
That's fiction though.
Oh, they have a lot of reality shows. They have a lot of unscripted shows that.
I ain't never seen nobody on HBO get busted over the head and have a gash so deep that they had to go get stitches.
I don't know. I think for me, because I'm black owned, we're young, we're new, we're hot. I think people are feeling away, and I
was appalled at how Joseline was. She threw a whole chandelier at a woman. Who the fuck? What the is that? And then Zeus Network, that I didn't even know was black owned and operated, they love that. They don't give a how upset you guys get at me or Joseline or whatever. They got your $4.99, and that's what they give a about.
Now, I am the first person to point out racism, inequality, and how systems are used to downplay people of color, and especially black people in this country. However, what I will not do is have a black-owned company try to shield itself with that label, to have that be an excuse for why they do what they do. In fact, for many people, that makes it worse. As I said at the start of this video, black Americans are constantly in a balancing act between how we are depicted in the media. Oftentimes, this representation was out of our hands. But now that we have the means to shape our own image, many realize that it's not that easy. Yet I think we are willing to extend grace to those depictions that are not the best because we know people like the ones being depicted. We can relate on a level that adds an authenticity to the media that makes it more digestible for the community. We can sense in some way that the intention, while genuine, is a bit misguided. And given what I see, what a majority of the community sees is someone whose intention is one of showing off the worst of people for profit. Not the worst people, but the worst of these people for profit.
They tell you if you fight, you get put out. However, the show is based off of them fighting because they probe you to fight. Like they'll say, like literally they'll say,
What the hell? You got a ticket, go!
oh, if you're gonna fight, don't fight outside, fight in the inside. So then you get in the inside and then they fighting, then they carrying people out. But the whole time they carrying people out and act like they don't want you fighting. The camera crew like this over you with the camera and the microphone to capture the footage.
Like, bro, I need my head up. Y'all in my face with that camera. Why you want to be in my face? Go get the fucking bitch that you want to get camera. I just never grew up in line with her dirty shit. Like, bro,
Hey, all you gonna do is get one hit. Ain't no more hits, get it in.
So they asking us to explain everything, personalities and all that shit. We all was talking over each other. But my group, before we went in there, we said we wasn't gonna fight each other, nothing. We was all gonna, try to show our personalities and but it was like kind of like they wasn't really trying to see our personalities. It was really more so they wanted to see who was gonna fight, who was gonna get booked with each other. And you feel me? Like I was trying to show my personality.
Come on, like it's all good. Let's go. Who wanna challenge her? Who wanna challenge her? Nobody?
That's it. She got
Next. No, next. That's crazy. Next, I'm good.
Johnny, no, we're not going out like that. Let's go, Johnny. We're not going out like that. Johnny, no, wait, let them fight. Let them fight, bro.
Asian dog,
Let them fight, no.
Asian dog gotta go.
Because being a baddie is not all about fighting. You feel me? Like personality. Because some of the cast don't even got personality and they just be casting anybody. You feel me? So their personality, businesses and all that.
Like, yeah, I wanted to be a part of Zeus Network. I wanted to do Chance. I wanted to do Baddies. I wanted to do something that would further my career. You know what I'm saying? I know how to contain myself without fighting a bitch. But wasn't no bitch about to put no battery in my motherfucking back to make me hit somebody. Why the I don't want nobody to just hit me for no motherfucking reason. Especially a bitch that I've been talking to all day. That girl trusts me. Why the would I hit her?
So then that's when Rolly was about to next everybody. I was like, hell no, because I want this shit. Like, what the I got to talking. I'm like, I'm a content creator. I'm a YouTuber. I'm like, I got a big personality. Like, and motherfuckers to see this shit, you feel me? So Bobby was like, you want it? I was like, hell yeah, I want it. So he like, anybody in here gonna check you? I'm like, no. So this girl from Idaho, I was the only one that was about to get it, but the girl from Idaho was like, I'll check you. So we got the dumping.
Because all these women are looking up to y'all, and you got all these young women that need some type of direction, some guidance in life, and everybody trying to get out of a hole. Everybody's working towards the same goal, which is to be successful. You acting like you're gonna give somebody an opportunity, but they gotta fight for it physically. You are putting these people up to get physically hurt. Like, y'all, it was girls getting carried out in EMSs. Girls getting hurt so bad. Y'all just don't even understand. But everybody is a part of it. It's a show that's televised to demean the black woman. And it's like, you gotta, like, they want to tear you down. They want you to tear yourself down. Because if you tear yourself down, they'll get paid. It's kind of like the elite, I guess. As long as you'll willingly destroy yourself under contract, you'll get paid.
I mentioned that the main excuse Plummer and Nunn like to use is that Zeus is a black-owned network telling black stories. Natalie Nunn was the same woman who said this.
You're gonna get the ghetto black bitch who's gonna punk you all the time. Too black. Her nose looks like a gorilla nose. And so dark-skinned girls never seem to like me.
and then began to cosplay as a more ghetto black baddie once the Kardashians confirmed that this look was selling at the moment. And Lemon Pepper Stepper Plummer has been accused of abusing his power in the network against women. I don't care if you live streamed the Million Man March and bought the bus Rosa Parks was on when she got arrested. Using your blackness and our community as a shield for such blatant extortion and abuse of power is inexcusable and repugnant. Our stories, be them good and bad, should be told, but we need to be a bit more disciplined on who we hand the pen to and who we allow to write it. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video, and I hope that it makes you think mainly about not only our image in the media, but also the just way that black women seem to be disrespected a lot in institutions, and in this case specifically one that claims to be for black people. And to make a point out of all of this, and me actually, like I said, I support black people. I love my people to death. But you will not just start flagrantly launching that around to do some fuck shit. I am wearing my Black Creativity hoodie, which is a juried exhibition that happens in Chicago at the MSI, Museum of Science and Industry. I'm not calling it by that new name. And it's a juried art exhibition for black creatives. They hold it every year. I am also wearing Juvia's Place as makeup. I have Fenty Beauty gloss on my lips, and I am black as well, so there's that. But please let me know your comments down below, and if you could share this, I would be very appreciative, because given how long I talked and how much footage I know I have and how difficult it was to film this, I would really like at least about 2,000 views for all my hard work. If we can do that, I would be forever grateful. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Consider subscribing. More videos like this will be on the way. And I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Bye.
Shades of night are creeping, willow trees are weeping, old folks and babies are sleeping. Silver towers are gleaming, all alone I'm scheming. Out of window, not a clear opening, come tiptoe through the tulips with me. So from your pillow to the shadow of the pillow, and tiptoe through the